Okay, this is our Module 8 practice test. This will be a calculator test. We'll be allowed to use the Desmos online calculator. Number 1, what is the first step in evaluating the expression 6 minus the quantity 4 divided by 2 times 5 quantity squared? So remembering that our order of operations, PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. P is for parentheses. This is specifically for operations inside the parentheses. E for exponents. Multiply and divide as one step from left to right. Add and subtract as one step from left to right. So we know we need to work inside the parentheses first. And then inside the parentheses, we follow the order of operations again within the parentheses. So the first step would be the division, since we do multiplication and division left to right. So this would be 4 divided by 2 for our first step. Number 2, Silvio made 24 cupcakes. He also made M muffins. Which expression represents how many more muffins Silvio made than cupcakes? So since they're telling us that there are more muffins than cupcakes, we know that it's going to be muffins minus whatever the difference is. And we said there were 24 cupcakes. So it would be muffins minus 24, and that'll tell you how many more muffins there were than cupcakes. So muffins minus 24 would be letter D, M minus 24. Okay, number 3, select all the expressions that are equivalent to 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 factors of 4. So this is 4 to the 5th power. So that's A. Now it is possible that these two would be equivalent. So we can go ahead and check and see. This is 4 to the 5th power. That is 1024. And 5 to the 4th power, which is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, is 625. So this is not equivalent. Okay, and then here we have 4 to the 5th power times 4 to the 1st power. So this is 6 factors of 4. So this is 4 to the 6th power, not 4 to the 5th power. So this is not equivalent. And then we have 5 to the 2nd times 5 to the 2nd. This will be 5 to the 4th power. And we actually already checked that. That was 625. So this is not equivalent. This is our 5 to the 4th power, which we already said is not equivalent. And then here we have 4 to the 2nd times 4 to the 3rd. So this is 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. So this is equivalent to 4 to the 5th power. And we can add the exponents when the bases are alike. We'll learn more about that in 8th grade, but 4 to the 2nd times 4 to the 3rd would be 4 to the 5th. So this is also equivalent. So A and E are both equivalent. Okay, let's move over to number 4. Which value for P makes the expressions 9P minus 5 and the quantity 3 plus P times 5 equivalent? So we'll go ahead and check these. I prefer to start with the smaller number and then work to the larger numbers, just personal preference, because if it's one of the smaller numbers, I made it a little bit less work for myself. So I'll go ahead and check the 4 first. So 9 times 4, so we're just substituting in the 4 where the P is. So 9 times 4 minus 5. And 9 times 4 is 36. And 36 minus 5 is 31. And then we'll check it here. Again, we're substituting in the 4. 3 plus P would be 3 plus 4. So that's 7. Times the 5 that's outside, that's 35. So that is not going to make them equivalent because this is 31 when P equals 4, and when P is 4, this will equal 35. So not equivalent, and then we can go ahead and check the 5. So 9 times 5 minus 5, we would get 45 minus 5, which is 40. And then substituting in the 5 here, we can do this with without writing it down, just to save a little space. Well, we'll write it here. So 3 plus 5 times 5, we have 3 plus 5 is 8 times 5, we get 40. So that is equivalent to 40. And then we don't have to check any of the others because if 5 makes these true, the other numbers will not. Okay, number 5. Select all the expressions that are equivalent to 25 plus 3 times the quantity a minus 5 plus 7a. So I like to start by simplifying that expression so that I know what it is, and then I can see what if the others are equivalent. So I'll start by copying the expression here, 25 plus 3 times the quantity a minus 5 plus 7a. So 25 plus, I'll distribute the 3. So 3 times a, and then 3 times negative 5 is negative 15, and then bring down the plus 7a. We add our like terms. We have 3a and 7a, that's 10a. And then we have 25 minus 15, that's 10. So 10a plus 10. Okay, and I immediately see that that's right here for choice D. And if this is equivalent to 10a plus 10, which it is, I'll just put a box around that so it stands out, then it can't be equal to 10a plus 20, because 10a plus 20 is not equivalent to 10a plus 10. So we know that a is wrong. Okay. Then we can go ahead and simplify. Let's take a look at letter B and compare. This is only 8 A's. This is 10 A's. That's not equivalent. So we can cross that out. We can distribute here 5 times 2a is 10a, and 5 times 2 is 10. So this is equivalent as well. So C is correct. And then we can distribute the 2 here to see if this is equivalent. 2 times 5a is 10a, and 2 times 10 is 20. So this is 10a plus 20. That is not equivalent to 10a plus 10. So this is incorrect. So choices B, excuse me, so choices C and D are equivalent. Okay, moving on to number 6, evaluate each expression. So here we have operations. So remember our order of operations, PEMDAS. Operations inside parentheses first, then exponents next, then multiply, divide left to right, and then add, subtract left to right. So we'll do the operation inside our parentheses first. So 60 minus 6 is 54. I'll write this here, 54 times. So I did the operations inside parentheses. I'll simplify as I go. So exponents next. This is 1/3 to the third power. So remember, this means 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3. 1/3 times 1/3 is 1/9. And 1/9 times 1/3 is 1/27. So this is 1/27 plus 27 divided by 3. Okay, so I'm done with parentheses. I'm done with exponents. Then I'll do multiplication and division as they occur from left to right. So I have multiplication here, 54. Excuse me. We have 54 times 127. Okay, so this would be 54 over 1 and 1 over 27. I know that 27 goes into 54 twice, so I can cross cancel. These have a GCF of 27. 27 divided by 27 is 1. 54 divided by 27 is 2. So now we have numerator times numerator 2, denominator times denominator 1. I don't have to write it as 2 over 1. I can just write it as 2 and then bring down the plus. And then I can simplify this as I bring it down. 27 divided by 3 is 9. 2 plus 9 is 11. Okay, so our first solution is 11. Okay, then we'll look at our second numerical equation. So we can go ahead and solve this. We do operations inside parentheses first, and we get 2 plus 3 is 5. Bring everything else down. Okay, we have no more parentheses, but as I'm bringing this down, I'm going to go ahead and evaluate my exponent. 8 squared means 8 times 8, which is 64. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and do our next step, multiplication and division from left to right. So I have 64 divided by 4, which is 16. So we'll do that first. Okay, and then bring down the times 5 minus 9. And we have 16 times 5. That's 80. And then I'll just bring this up here, 80 minus 9 is 71. So we get 71. 71. And then moving on to number 7, evaluate each expression when b is 1.5. So we have 3 times the quantity b plus 10 and then minus 7. So if we have 1.5 here, we'll add in 1.5 plus 10. So this will be 3 times 1.5 plus 10 is 11.5 and then minus 7. Okay, we have 3 times 11.5. Well, 3 times 11 is 33 and 3 times half is 1.5. So that would be, if you add those together, 34.5. So 34.5 minus 7 is 27.5. So this is 27.5. And then our second problem, we have 5b squared plus 28. So this will be 5 times 1.5 squared plus 28. So we need to do 1.5 squared. That's 1.5 times 1.5. 5 times 5 is 25, right? The 5 carry the 2. 5 times 1 is 5, plus the 2 we carried is 7. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. Add these together, we get 5. 7 plus 5 is 12, right? The 2 carry the 1. And we get a 2. We had 1, 2 decimals in our problem, so we need 1, 2 decimals in our answer. So this is 2.25. When you have 1.5 squared, it's 2.25. So we have 5 times 2.25 and then plus 28. So then we need to multiply 2.25 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25, right? The 5 carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 12, plus the 2 we carried is 14, right? The 4 carry the 1. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 1 we carried is 11. We have 2 decimals in our problem, so we need 2 decimals in our answer. We get 11.45 plus 28. Okay, and then we can add these together. So we have the 4,500. 8 plus 1 in the ones place gives us 9, and in the tens place, 2 plus 1 gives us 3. So 39 this is a 2. 25 here. This should be a 2. This is I made a little mistake right here. Let's fix that. So 5 times 5 is 25, right? The 5 carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10 plus the 2 we carried. This should be a 2, not 4. So let's just fix that. And this is the 2. So that's going to give us 39.25. So let's correct that mistake. Sorry about that. 39.25. Okay, so let's refer to these as A, B, and C. Place an X inside the table to match each description with the correct expression. Letter A, the product of n and 4 plus 7. So the product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So this is n times 4 or 4n and then plus 7. This doesn't have a 4n plus 7. This does. This does not. So we have the product of 4n plus 7. The 7 is just out in the front, and that's fine. Okay. Letter B, the sum. Remember, the sum is the answer to an addition problem. The sum of 4 and the product of n and 7. So product of n and 7 means 7 times n or 7n. And then that gets multiplied by 4. So this would be here, the product of 7 and n. And then that's being added, 4 is being added to it. There's just the sum of 4 and the product of 7 and n. So this last column. And then letter C, the product of 7 and the sum of n and 4. The product of what and what? The product of 7 and the sum of n and 4. So the sum of n and 4 would be written as n plus 4. And then getting the multiplying that by 7 would be 7 times the sum. So there's your sum, this one. Okay, moving on to number 9. Okay, moving on to number 9. What are the different parts of the expression 2x plus 8y plus 15? Write each part of the expression in the correct place in the table. So terms, we have 3 terms. Remember, terms are separated by either a plus or minus sign. So our first term would be 2x. Our next term is 8y. And our last term is 15. Variables, we have 2 variables. They are x and y. These are just letters that represent unknown values. So x and y. Coefficients are numbers that go before the variables. So we have 2 of those. We have 2 and we have 8. So our coefficients are 2 and 8. Caroline earned 40 points for writing an essay on a reading test. She also earned 3 points for every question Q she answered correctly. What expression can be used to find how many points Carolyn earned on the test? So the 40 points is just for the writing. Okay, so 40 points is for the writing. And she's also getting 3 points for every question Q that she answered correctly. So this will be 3 points per question correct. So that'll be represented as 3 times Q. And then the plus 40, that's a constant. So that's just the number of points that she earned on the essay. So just plus 40. Number 11, it took Mr. Rajesh a total of 9 hours to drive to his grandpa's house. He drove M miles before lunch and 270. So when I see the word and, I'm just going to write a plus sign above it. And 270 miles after lunch. If he drove at a constant speed, what expression can be used to find how many miles Mr. Rajesh drove each hour? So we want to know miles each hour. So this is our hint. When we read very carefully, we see that this is going to be miles per hour. And the total number of miles that he drove, there were M miles before lunch and 270 miles after lunch. So the number of miles are M plus 270, and then per, and then the number of hours that it took was 9, so 9 hours. So we can use the expression M plus 20 all over 9 to represent how many miles Mr. Rajesh drove each hour, miles each hour. So it would be M plus 270 over 9. Number 12. A goat is placed in a circular pen with a radius of 15 feet. So I'm just going to say R equals 15. I'm going to just write that down. The formula for the area of a circle is area equals pi times radius squared, where R is the radius. If pi is equal to 3.14, and how many square feet of grass can the goat graze in the pen? So we need to get the area, we need to do pi times radius squared. So knowing that we need to do exponents first, let's go ahead and square our radius. So 15 times 15. So we'll do that right here. 15 times 15, 5 times 5 is 25. Raise the 5, carry the 2. 5 times 1 is 5, plus the 2 we carried is 7. Moving over to the tens place, 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 1 is 1. And then we add these together, we get 5. 7 plus 5 is 12, write the 2, carry the 1. So 225 is the radius squared. And then we need to multiply that by 3.14. So 225 times 3.14. And you will be allowed to use the calculator on this. So we are just going to go ahead and do the calculator. This is always good to practice squaring, but just for sake of time, this video is not forever long. Let's go ahead and multiply 225 times 3.14. It is 3.14, excuse me. 225 times 3.14, we get 706.5. Okay, and this was 15 feet times 15 feet. So our answer is going to be feet squared. So 706.5 feet squared. Okay, number 13. place an X in the table to show whether each equation is true or false. So 4y to the third power is equal to 4 times y times y times y. This is true because y times y times y is y squared. So these three factors of y are equal to y cubed, 4y cubed. Again, these three factors of y are going to be equal to y cubed. So this is true. Okay, next, we have 10x minus 30 equals 8 plus 2 times the quantity x minus 3. So I would like to simplify this right-hand side. So I'll write it over here. 8 plus 2 times the quantity x minus 3, and we'll simplify that to see if it's equal to 10x minus 30. So we'll distribute the 2. Bring down the 8. Okay, 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times negative 3 is minus 6. Combining our like terms, 8 minus 6 is 2. So this is the number, this is the number. Remember, we can only add numbers with other numbers. 8 minus 6 is 2. Bring down it's a positive 2, and bring down the 2x. So 2x plus 2 is not equal to 10x minus 30. These are not the same. And then number 13, the same thing, we're going to distribute. This left-hand side, we'll distribute the 3 over the quantity 6z minus 4 to see if it's equal here. 3 times 6z is 18z. And 3 times negative 4 or minus 4 is minus 12. Okay, and this is equivalent. So if you bring this down, 18z minus 12, the left side is equal to the right side. So this is true. And then number 14, a taxi service charges $4.50 to pick someone up and then 75 cents per mile during the ride. Write an expression that can be used to find the cost of a taxi ride for any number of miles m. So we know that we're going to be paying the $4.50 for the pickup. Plus, we are going to be paying 75 cents per mile. So we would say 0.75 times m, where m represents the number of miles. Okay, so that's an expression. When we get into Algebra 1, we'll learn about putting this at the end. But for now, we're going to keep the $4.50 at the beginning. But it doesn't matter if it's first or second. We can switch these around because of the commutative property. We're allowed to do that. Part B, what is the cost of a taxi ride that is 5 miles long? So we'll use our expression, $4.50 for that initial pickup fee, plus, instead of saying 75 cents times m, we're going to say 75 cents times 5, because we know that the ride is going to be 5 miles. Okay, then we'll multiply that out. 5 times 5 is 25, right? The 5 carry the 2. 5 times 7 is 35, plus the 2 we carried is 37. We have 2 decimals in our answer, so we need 2 decimals in our problem. So this will be $4.50. Bring that down, bring down the plus sign, and then we multiply this out to $3.75. Okay, so we can go ahead and add these together. In the hundredths place, 0 plus 5 is 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. Right, the 2 carry the 1. Don't forget your decimal. Then we have 3 plus 4 is 7, plus the 1 we carried is 8. So this will be $8.25 for a 5 mile long taxi ride. And that was the practice test for Module 8.